What's up, trucking fam? We're in the Truckers Lounge again. I'm your guy Priest, but I'm not your pastor. Along with instructor Eugene.
All right.
We in today's conversation we're gonna be discussing the change in FMCSA's leadership with Miss Robin Hutchinson stepping down. Gene, we came across some articles on Overdrive online, a story about it, uh, giving a little bit of information of didn't really tell the reason why she was stepping down. Just said she was stepping down. She's just going to be replaced, right?
Yeah, pretty much. She's being replaced, but with that position, we've been seeing that she's what the second person to step down in a short time frame. You
No,
know,
no, it's been more than that. It's before her. Let me pull it up here. Before her, you had let me find it
I
here.
think it was
I had it
Raymond
right in front of
Martinez.
me.
Was it?
You
No.
had Maria Maira Joshe. I hope I'm not butchering this lady's name. She was the acting administrator of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Department before Hutchinson came in, and before
Okay.
her, you you had let's see, you had Jim Mullins before her, but they haven't had anybody permanent in their position since Ray Martinez stepped down in October 2019.
Right. Yeah,
So
I saw
after
that.
Ray Martinez stepped down, you had Jim Mullen, Miss Joshe, and Miss Robin Hutchinson.
So now Miss Sue Lawless is
Huh?
Miss Sue Lawless. She's gonna be taking up her position as the acting deputy administration once she leaves office.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so
Yeah, because she's stepping down on the 26th,
on the
right,
on the
of
twenty
this
sixth
month,
of
January.
January, 26th of January,
Cool.
she'll be stepping down.
Cool. So again, this is the Truckers Lounge. We are, you could consider us media, but this is an opinionated platform. So we're gonna basically give our take on, just based on everything that's been going on since the pandemic. I think it's just I think all of this is connected in a lot of ways. But I'm gonna let Gene go first on his take, unless you want me to go first on it.
You can go first because I was gonna look over a few things.
Okay, okay. Well, I think, like when that woman Joe Shay, it's spelled Joshi. If I'm butchering it, I apologize. But when she was in when the pandemic first started. It was a lot of pressure, I would imagine, on that department. I'm not making no excuses for them. I still think they come out with some of the craziest regulations, but
Right.
uh, I think that was a pressure position because that lady Joe Shea, she stepped down and she took a position as deputy mayor in New York. So that may be more of a laid back position. It's got more power and most likely look better on her resume. But as for Miss Robin Hutchinson, I think she stepped down because of the pressure from Congress. They've been having that lady up there on Congress grilling her about a lot of these regulations that's been coming through with the speed limiter.
Yeah.
Yeah, the speed limiter mandate. And
But
I'm pretty sure she ruffled some feathers with some bigger companies with the broker transparency regulation that they're trying to push. Um, I'm pretty sure the American Trucking Association didn't too much like what was it, the lease agreement regulation
right.
she came
Yeah,
up
they
with.
came up
What
with a
was it
task
called?
force. It was a task
Yeah,
force about
the
the.
truck leasing task force.
Hmm.
So I'm thinking that she probably ruffled some feathers. A lot of pressure probably got on her to where she just probably just threw her hands up with it, just say, "Hey, I want out. I want out." Because I'm pretty sure she wasn't coming up with a lot of these crazy regulations on her own. But a lot of the regulations that I saw that they was trying to put forth was incomplete. You
Yeah.
know, some of the things that she was saying or that department was saying that they wanted to change, Just like with the leasing task force, you had to change laws when it come to leasing, in my opinion, based on what I saw on that read on the regulation, just looking at the face of it. So
Right. And a
I don't
lot of
know.
that
I you
stuff,
know I just think pressure got the best of her. She didn't want it no more because she was the face of every bad situation that came out of FMCSA, and for somebody to not be in a permanent position that could destroy their career potential. Potentially.
yeah. Yeah, because a lot of those
I can
bills
barely
or
hear you.
okay, yeah, a lot of those situations that they were trying to come out with, um, they it's like they didn't have the full understanding of it themselves. It's like they hadn't done the research on it
Yeah,
themselves before they presented it. Even with that hearing that they did on the speed limiters, and they was talking about it, she was saying, well, this is just a hearing. We hadn't came out with a ruling yet. This is just a hearing. But it's like they hadn't even done the research before they even brought it up for people to do a public commentary on it, for the public to speak on it, on their
right,
hearing. And so most of that stuff is like hey, here we got something. Here comes something else. Y'all talk on this. Here comes something else. It's like dang. Because even with the speed limiter rule, before they came out with that, we were seeing, I can't recall if they definitely came out if the FMCSA was saying this, but we was just hearing about 60 miles per hour is what they were thinking about governing the trucks down to. And so I don't know if that was something that they were saying or that was just talk, that actual 60 mile per hour. But we do know that they hadn't done the research to know that that big gap in speed is going to be dangerous on the highways, especially in areas that's really congested,
right,
when you got cars, somewhere out west where the speed limit for cars is 75 and 80 miles an hour. The posted speed limit is 75 and 80 miles an hour, and trucks being governed down at 60.
right,
So we just see, just from past experience, they don't do a whole lot of research in this stuff before they come up with it. They just come up with something and they just put it out there, and they want the public comments on it, and we'll go
right,
from there based on how the meter is going, based on what the public is saying. If everybody's leaning towards it, hey, we'll look at pursuing it. Everybody
right,
downplaying it, then hey, we might back off for a little bit and we'll come back with it later.
right,
And she, from the research I did on her, the previous positions she's been in leadership positions for like 12 years prior to her taking this position. And her main area of expertise was transportation. She just didn't have, from what I saw, she didn't have any previous experience in commercial transportation or in logistics prior to her taking this position.
right.
So I never seen any scandals she was involved in, or people talking about she stole any type of money, or saw where a city was going bankrupt or anything. So kind of just piggybacking off of what you said, it's like she was just thrown in that position, and she like, hey man, I can't make no change here. Let me let me just step down.
Right.
So
Yeah. Well, politics, I learned from a alderman in my local town
mm-hmm,
years ago that it really kind of woke me up about politics and how it works, because we had a situation going on in our small town and he was just educating us on it. And when you look at a lot of these regulations, when you in politics, you can't satisfy everybody. And when you look at the the trail of these regulations, freight what was it, freight transparency, okay,
okay,
who is that satisfactory to? That's going to be satisfactory more to guys like us, the
truck
regular
drivers,
guys, the owner operators, but
uh-huh,
it's going to hurt companies like CH Robinson, um Global Trans, a lot of the bigger companies.
mm-hmm,
So Cage is going to be rattled with that speed limiter mandate. That's to satisfy organizations that's pretty much don't like truckers.
mm-hmm,
And and they have lost family members due to truck accidents. So you coming up with the speed limiter mandate to satisfy this group of people, but you rattled in the cages of everybody in the trucking industry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what else we had? Okay, we had the speed limiter, the
The overtime,
the who?
the overtime. Was it
The overtime. Okay, you
yeah,
know you rattling the American Trucking Association cage with that because now you asking bigger companies like Swift and JB Hunt to come up off of more money for drivers, which they don't want to do. And that could trickle down and really hurt the smaller guy, the owner operator, because if you got a small carrier of 15, 20 trucks and you have a a light contract over here and you getting loads off the load board over here, you can't satisfy that kind of payment and continue to not be financially hurting your business.
yeah.
Okay, and what was another one? It's another one that we
Well,
missed.
they were talking about the hours of service, changing the hours of service at one point.
The
They were
hours of
looking at,
service. Okay,
uh-huh.
uh, okay, what was they talking about doing now? Her as she been in
Uh,
leadership because I think that fell upon the
in
Joe Shea,
I think in
whatever
the
her name
past year, they were looking at trying to do something with the hours of service. Within the past
is. Okay,
12 months, they were looking at doing something, but it was just a talk, you know.
right, but it was a recent one that we was just talking about before we came on air. You had the trucking task force, the uh, of course you had the freight fraud, which is supposed to help everybody, but that's going to be, it's going to take everybody to come in and work with that. Ain't nothing that they can just do. What was another one?
Let's see. So,
But anyway, it seemed like she was trying to satisfy everybody. You in politics, you can't do that. That's impossible.
yeah,
Sometimes, just be best to leave certain things alone.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And just do like most politicians do. Just don't acknowledge it. Because you get to mess with the speed limiter mandate, you're gonna jack up the highway,
yeah,
you know. And then, with the freight fraud, when you look at freight fraud, it's not her fault. It's the problem. It's the FMCSA fault because look at how easy it is for anybody to get an authority.
yeah, yeah. It's
You
really easy.
know, right? You don't have to go through a lot of red tape just to get your authority. So if somebody is a scammer and they're smart, they could use a fraudulent name and have their authority and look legit. And because of the pandemic, everything being done remotely, they don't even have to have a building that they're running
Yeah,
their business out of.
right. Yeah, whether it's a trucking company or
Yeah.
brokerage or anything. Yeah,
Right, right. So I think because if you look at some of the photos of her, she looked burnt out.
she do. She look tired. You don't
Yeah,
see nothing happy about her. You know, she really do look like that. So I don't know, and that's still a developing story. So we don't know what she plans on doing next, other than she's just stepping down. And I guess maybe at some point, rumors will probably start surfacing as to why, or speculations as to why she actually stepped down. Because we might see from through the next person, maybe things will start happening, within the administration, the FMCSA, to where we'll be able to see, okay, this is going on, and now this is going on, and this is happening. This is probably why she stepped down, because she
right,
may not
right,
ever come back out and say it if if she plans to continue a career in government. She probably
right,
won't come out and say anything, you know.
right. That'd be career suicide.
Yeah,
But a lot of this decision making is coming from Buttigieg's office. You
yeah.
know, those who don't remember Buttigieg, I think what was he, the mayor of Indiana, South Bend, Indiana, or something like that.
I don't know what his previous position was before he became the U.S. Secretary of Transportation.
Let's see here.
Yeah, because
How,
I
let me find his name. I'm trying to see how you spell his name here. I just
that.
saw it in this article here when I was looking. Give me a
Okay,
second.
yeah.
I'm sorry, people, if Let's see here.
Yeah, Buttigieg. That's Butti.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now.
Yeah. Before, but yeah.
Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah, because everything. He's the head guy. He's the one that answers to the president. So
Yeah, South Bend, Indiana. I'm sorry, I mean interrupted. From 2012 to 2020, he was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, when he decided to run for president. So for those who
okay,
don't remember him, I think he was the first mayor that came out as gay.
okay,
I
openly
think
gay.
he
Yeah.
he he made his name on that. That he was the first mayor that came out gay, and he ran against Biden. So you know how they do in politics. Let's not act like we don't. I thought I lose in the primary, and I throw my support behind you. You make sure you give me a position. So they chose a position uh, to put them over the FMCSA, basically. So a lot of this stuff that's going on with the regulation, this is coming down from his office. So you got people like Robin Hutchinson. I'm pretty sure they have to take orders from them. They can't, unless their opinion is valuable, they probably can't just go in and create their own regulations, because this, when you look at these regulations, I mean, to me, I'm just gonna say it bluntly, it's stupid. A lot of the
Hmm.
stuff that they coming up with, that's how it comes off to me. If I can get somebody to explain it to me better, to where I could better understand it, I'm willing to listen. But just on the face of it, what I've been seeing and reading, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it seems like they just got to come up with some kind of something to put on the books.
Talking
Yeah,
about, talking
yeah.
about
When they
as
coming up with
far
these
as to make
different,
it look like they doing something.
yeah, like when they come up with these different agendas. Okay, well, we need to put some on the books for this quarter. So
Right,
we come up with something, and it could be um like a smoke screen for what's to just to deter us from what's really going on. You know,
right,
this is going on. Hey, here, let's talk about the leasing. Let's create a task force for leasing, so y'all know that we doing something that's
right.
going on. Let's create let's talk about overtime. And we know drivers will probably care about that. You know.
Right. Exactly. And let's be honest, a lot of the pressures that the FMCSA is feeling, it came from everything that happened in the pandemic. When you talk about broker transparency, that came from when the rates went sky high. Nobody understood when the rates fell down. Now we think the brokers are cheating us. Well, the brokers always have been getting theirs off the top. I mean, I agree that there should be some form of transparency. I'm not saying that it shouldn't, but you have to understand the inner workings too of how those agreements are made between brokers and shippers as well. And then on top of that, if you make the brokers be transparent, now Walmart has to have two price tags on their product now. I mean, they can make that just go real wild, because now we're
Yeah.
gonna have to know what Walmart is actually paying for this loaf of bread and what they actually charging me. So
Hmm.
you see how they could get a little bit dicey right there. So a lot of this stuff came from the pandemic. The truck leasing task force. Well, when the price of trucks went up, lease agreements went up,
Yeah.
and guys like, hey, I'm being cheated. So when prices on trucks start falling, these guys were still stuck in these lease agreements.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of this pressure that the FMCSA is feeling. It came off the cusp of the pandemic. I'm not saying they shouldn't feel pressure to do their job. Yeah, they should be doing their job, but in a situation like this, a lot of their decisions to me came off as panic decisions. We got to
Hmm.
do something now, because they ain't only hearing from the trucking community, they hearing from the shipping community, like your Walmarts, your Procter Gamble, your Home Depots, all of them having freight coming up missing. You got drivers out here being underpaid, working for companies. You got drivers out here that have their own companies, can't get good rates. I mean, it's a lot,
Yeah.
that's going on. So they don't know what to do. They just do some of the crazy stuff. So I don't know. I just think they need to cancel out all that crap.
Yeah, and just work on the real issues. you know, work on the
Yeah,
real stuff. Just throwing out something every shucks, like every month they're coming up with something new.
right.
That's not really important right now for transportation. It's not all that important. How are we going to? I know the main focus is making the road safe. And making sure the drivers or the trucking companies are doing what they should be doing. But I think they should just focus on a lot of those simpler things other than just coming up with something new every week. I mean, every month, something brand new.
Yeah, and well, the first thing they should do is put some restrictions on their website when you're getting your authority. I
Hmm.
mean, it kind of make you afraid to even ask them to do that, because when you look at it, some of the regulations they done came out with, they might mess that up too. You know what I mean? Because they don't know what to do. Because, like you say, they haven't done any research. It don't seem like before they start passing this stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That would help
So
help some. I guess if you do it for the trucker, for someone getting their trucking authority, do the same thing for someone getting their broker's authority.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
My oldest son, he's 24 now. If he go get a CDL today, he can apply for his authority tomorrow.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that open.
Hmm.
You know what I
His
mean?
his trucking authority and broker's authority.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It shouldn't be that open. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's a lot of stuff they got to tighten up, because it's ridiculous. Honestly, never been a trucker shortage. They're lying to you if they say that it's a trucker
Man,
shortage. Never been a trucker shortage, and I think it's ridiculous when you look online and you see how many trucks have been put out here since the pandemic. That's ridiculous. I mean,
right.
that's where they slipped at.
Hmm.
That's where they slipped at. And I'm not saying that nobody should be able to take advantage of the American dream, but you can't say, well, it should be wide open, and then turn around and complain about foreigners being in it. Then
Hmm.
complain about people crossing the borders coming in and being able to get involved in it, and then the scammers and all that stuff, freight fraud. That's going, you can't have it both ways. A lot of that could have been stopped if they had to did that in the beginning, if they had to put some restrictions on what it takes to get your authority.
Yeah, because they were letting people come in with no experience get their authority during the pandemic. I think from what I saw, recall seeing, I want to say it was like 400 some thousand trucking, what, like DOT numbers prior to the
Right.
pandemic, and that practically doubled during the time of the pandemic,
Yeah. Right.
and like, wow, you
Yeah.
know,
And you think it's not going to be an issue with parking?
yeah.
You know, uh, in our area, we saw people that were like barbers, mechanics, plumbers, uh, 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 baby boys. Even the baby boys got their girlfriend's tax money and started a trucking company. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean,
Uh-huh.
it's ridiculous. Nobody earned nothing. You had people going to trucking school and getting straight out of trucking school with their own authority. And before anybody say that I'm a hater, you got to understand this here. This is a 70-foot vehicle that can haul up to 80,000 pounds, that can wipe out multiple families with one mistake.
Right.
Why in the world are the restrictions so loose on being able to get your authority and get in a truck? Because you're looking at false analytics that say it's a trucker shortage. So,
They said, I'm looking on here, it said in 2021, 109,000 trucking companies opened.
yeah,
That was more than 2020, because in 2020, only 50,000 had opened.
right.
and 2018 only 43,000. So it's like three times, at least two times the amount,
Right.
pre-pandemic.
Right. So don't try to clean up your mistake with dumb regulations. Come out and admit, hey, we screwed up on that part, and this is what we doing now to tighten those restrictions, and we finna go through and clean up. What I'm saying, a lot of this stuff going on, which you had these fraudulent people out here with their MC numbers and everything, and just let the people know it's gonna be some innocent people gonna get wiped up in this because of a mistake we made.
We got to clean
But
up.
this is what
Yeah.
we got to do to balance this out, you
Right.
know. But
Because
but they too busy catering to the bigger companies because they the ones keep crying it's a trucker shortage. So message to the bigger companies like your Swifts, Knights, all that. A lot of this is on you. Y'all the one kept pushing this crap about a trucker shortage and all this kind of foolishness here because of your greed to get drivers in your trucks. Y'all
right.
pushed this,
Yeah.
and put pressure on the FMCSA to start making dumb decisions, and this stuff them blew up in y'all face now. And y'all still don't have drivers in all your trucks like you would like to have. That's
Hmm.
why you pushing this automation crap so tough.
And if you look at the LTL companies, they never once cried a driver shortage. They can't get drivers to leave. They drivers stay 20 and 30 years.
Right.
So what's the
Yeah,
difference
that's because they
between?
in yeah, go ahead. You said what now?
I was going to say, what's the difference between an LTL company compared to a truckload company? Well, it's the pay, the
Well, the
consistency.
LTL companies don't really deal with load boards. See, you have big truck companies that still deal with load boards for backhauls and all that kind
Hmm.
of stuff. With LTL dealing in such smaller shipments and being able to compound them on one load, they deal directly with the shipper and they get high rates, so they can
Hmm.
afford to pay their drivers good money to where you you got a 69-year-old driver and you just about got to sabotage him to get him to retire
To
because he
get
don't
them
want to go
quit.
nowhere because he making 30 40
Yeah.
dollars an hour because an LTL company can't afford it. But a
Uh-huh.
truckload company, in most cases, they can't afford to pay that kind of money because of how the market is set up for truckloads. Because
Hmm.
it's kind of crazy, but truckload is a lot cheaper for a shipper to send a truckload than to send one piece of freight. You know what I
Right.
mean? And like when they look at it on a larger scale, like over the times of how many I got to send out this one piece of freight when I could send out a truckload of it at one time
Hmm.
if it's storage space on the other end. So they
Right.
get a cheaper deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the difference. It's crazy that the market is set up like that. It shouldn't be set up like that. I mean, if a LTL guy can make $30 an hour, a truckload guy working for a company should be able to make at least $25 an hour. He may
Yeah.
not have the incentives that an LTL guy has, but he should still be able to make that kind of money, and a trucking company should be able to afford it.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it's a lot. It's
Yeah.
a lot.
That's some,
Yep.
but yeah, that ain't always, that is not always the case. But yeah, like you
Yep.
said, with the crying driver shortage, is always the larger carriers that's putting it out, saying, "Oh, by this such and such a time frame, we're gonna need 50,000 drivers, 80,000
Right.
drivers." They always crying that.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I would love to have a representative for the ATA to come on our show and have a conversation with us about it. And I wouldn't bash them. I know I talk aggressive, and I know I have a strong opinion about things. But see, I like to learn too. I like to listen, and I love to be proven wrong because
Hmm.
a lot of the stuff that most people see as crazy that come up in my head, it scares me when it comes to fruition.
Hmm.
Just being honest, I don't like the fact of being able to see things down the road and it's not good.
Right.
And then, it ends up, coming to light. So, I mean, I mean, what about the trucker shortage? They had a conference. You haven't seen the video yet, but this freight broker, this guy who represents freight broker, I think he represents TIA. If I'm wrong, I apologize. I'll find the video and post it up on our TikTok page.
Okay.
But he was telling Congress, this Congress member, I can't think of his name, but because his brother took over the family trucking business, they think he getting all his information from his brother on this so-called trucker shortage.
Okay.
So this representative for the freight broker said it's not a trucker shortage. He said it's a epidemic of people in trucking following the American dream, and he compared it to JB Hunt. He said JB Hunt was a trucker, but he said now they're like a large carrier. And he said you have a lot of it's an epidemic where you have a lot of companies starting their own companies. Now he said it's a trucker shortage with the larger carriers having drivers in their seat. Now I've been saying that for the last 2 years. When they was talking about this trucker shortage, I said this ain't no trucker shortage. This is coming from the larger carrier
Right.
saying that they are short of drivers. But when they put the statement out, they don't put it like that. They say across the whole scale,
Yeah.
it's a trucker shortage, and that's always been a lie.
And the ATA runs with it. They report on it. The ATA, you would think they would be responsible enough and say, because they represent all of them, LTL and large carriers, truckload carriers. And you would think they would say, well, there's a trucking shortage across our truckload division, across the dry van sector, or you know what I'm saying? But no, they just put it on out there, and the media will run with it. They're gonna listen to what they have to say.
Right. See, politicians, from what I see, just using this as an example, politicians are out of the loop. I mean, it's crazy how we live in a system where politicians make all the decisions for us, but they don't know what's going on with us.
Yeah.
So they have their picks of who they like to listen to. And the ATA is wise enough not to go to them and say, we just having a trucker shortage, which behind closed doors, they may say that we have a trucker shortage for all these big trucking companies that you as a politician are invested in. And if we don't make something happen, we're going to lose a lot of money. So when the politicians come out, they say we have a trucker shortage all over the nation. And that's just a big lie, big fat lie. It's not true.
Right.
Because you've always had guys in the trucking industry who wanted to be independent in some shape or form, whether it was having their own truck leased onto a company or having their own authority. So it's never been a trucker shortage. It's just that shippers rather work with bigger companies than to work with the smaller guy. That's all that is. If they could have it their way, it wouldn't be nothing but corporate trucking companies. It wouldn't be no owner operators. I'm just going to be honest with you. If they could have it their way, if they could have it that way, you wouldn't see them buying trucks in the masses. You would see them buying them on order as drivers coming in.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't have anything to fear to come in and just get a slew of trucks. I mean, heck, the dealerships already giving them trucks. They can just come in and say, hey, I need a truck. Pick it up, buy now, pay later.
You're right. Yeah, get five. Get five, get one free.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
I mean, so if they could have it their way, that's what it would be. So that's why unity is so important amongst the owner operators, the smaller guy who's in a trucking who has ambition to be an owner operator, or may not have ambition to be an owner operator. You just don't want to work for a bigger company. You want to work for a smaller company because it paid more. You may not have the medical benefits, but you want to make more money. So I mean, it's very important, for unity to be in play amongst these type of drivers that want that,
Right.
I mean, but long as you okay with working for the bigger companies, I mean, you shouldn't have an issue with none of these regulations, because a lot of the big companies pushing these regulations with the law books, all that kind of stuff. All this stuff is designed to push the smaller guy. To me, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, and I think in a lot of cases they are, because The smaller guy can't afford the upfront cost when
Right.
things change. The smaller guy can't afford the upfront cost for ELDs if you got a fleet of trucks. It's hard to come up with that. He can't afford the
Right.
upfront cost of upgrading trucks to, every time they put out new emission standards. You know, the larger trucking companies are behind pushing for a lot of the stuff that the FMCSA is talking about doing. Most of the regulation that they're talking about passing, the larger trucking companies are for it and pushing it because we as smaller carriers or small owner operators can't afford those things up front.
Right.
So
Right. And just a note to the guys who don't have the ambition for having your own truck, um, but you rather work for a smaller company because it pays more. In order for that to happen, you have to support a movement like this. This affects you too. I mean, it affects everybody in trucking who's trying to get away from the bigger company. It's understandable. A lot of us try to get away from the bigger company because it's too many rules. Too many
right,
rules. I mean, it's no leniency. When you get with a smaller company is more understanding that you have to attend your kids' band concert. Bigger companies don't care about that. They'll dispatch a lie to you. Yeah, we got the next load bringing you home, and they sending you further out west when you need to be going east. So,
that's true.
I mean, but a lot of that just comes with trucking too.
Hmm.
But I think smaller companies are more emotionally or personally attached to their drivers than a bigger company. Bigger company, you just looked at as a number. If you
Right.
okay with that, hey, I'm not telling you to think anything different. But if you one of the ones that's complaining about what's going on now, you have to support a movement like like what we're trying to get going.
Right, because with a
To build a
smaller,
community to where that we can have some kind of muscle against some of these decisions being made over our careers.
hmm yeah, because like with a smaller carrier compared to a larger carrier, like you said, with a larger carrier, you're just with a larger carrier, you're just a number. You know, I used to work for Swift or JB Hunt, and they ask you, okay, what's your driver code? And they pull you up based on your driver code. Whereas when I first started driving for a smaller carrier, hey, they got my as soon as they answer the phone, hey Eugene, I'm
Yeah,
like, hey, how you know it's me?
yeah,
Oh, we got you saved. I said, wow.
yeah, yeah.
And they had a couple
Exactly.
hundred
See,
trucks,
that
but
means a
they,
lot.
yeah, and they had a couple hundred trucks, but they had my number saved. I'm like, wow, so that's something. That says a
Oh yeah.
lot, like you said. That says a lot. And if anybody
Yeah.
wants to, like you said, everybody is not looking to be an owner operator, or
Right.
they even if they want to be an owner operator, not everyone is looking to have their own authority and be independent.
Right.
But like you said, for the guys that's um, looking to have that freedom with running with a smaller carrier of having a personal relationship with a smaller carrier compared to a larger carrier and having more say so in what you do that you can sometimes get with a smaller carrier compared to a larger carrier, then yeah, you got to support everything that's coming down, the fights that a lot of us are trying to at least bring awareness to, and some of the fights that people like maybe OIDA is trying to bring attention to also when they're fighting on Capitol Hill for certain regulations, against certain regulations.
Right. Right. Well, I couldn't have said it better myself, bro.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for our episode today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And also, we're going to be posting our content on some podcast platforms, with some other podcast platforms. We're going to have more information on that later. But again, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And we appreciate your support. And we the guys in the Truckers Lounge, and we out of here. Peace out.
All right, y'all have a good one.